Hey everybody, welcome to the Brewing channel. This is Sean, and I've got Sean here too.
Good evening, everybody.
Weird. How are you?
Squared.
So before we begin, Sean wanted to clear the air on when he had to leave early last time. So I'll show you the quick video that Sean made. We're going to edit it in here, but Sean had to leave because, you know, our wives don't listen to us very closely, and so his dog got left home, and dog was going to piss all over the rug if he didn't leave. Yeah. So Sean had to go early.
Chocolate lab with a very small bladder.
Yes. So I'll show you the video right now of what Sean thought when he saw my video.
And you can see that Sean's not here right now. Sean part 2. The non-bodega Sean has had to leave. He'd been summoned by his better half. It happens sometimes, you know. You might say to your wife, "Oh, I gotta go over and brew some beer," and all they hear is "have some beer." And
So sorry, Sean, but I wasn't saying you're whipped. I was saying we all are whipped.
That's all right. Understood. Absolutely.
So today, this is the beer that Sean and I were making. Well, I guess it was about a month ago.
Yeah.
And this is it was a clone I was trying to do of Naughty Neighbor again. Did not turn out like it at all, completely at all. It was 18 pounds of two-row, because this was 10-gallon batch, 2 pounds of wheat, half a pound of Caramel Christie 40, which is kind of why it's a little dark, 2 ounces of Centennial pellets for a 60-minute boil, 4 ounces of Citra at a flame out, and 6 ounces of Cascade dry hopped. And I thought with dry hopping of Cascade, it's supposed to have a piney aroma and flavor, and I didn't get what I thought I would get. So with no further ado, let's check out these beers. We can try my beer first.
Sure.
This is the one on the left.
You've tried yours before?
I have. And so I want to see.
Smells good.
It's got, yeah, but it's not like piney. It's almost a melon rounded flavor.
Yeah. Citrus.
Yeah, it's a citrus, which you get with having the Citra hop. But I thought dry hopping with the other one, the Cascade's supposed to give this pine, which I was looking for that you have in the Naughty Neighbor, and I can't smell it in there. It's a nice light body. It's not heavy.
Yeah.
I like it pretty good. Now this one, Sean, this is brand new. I have not taste tested yours at all.
Yeah.
So see, it's a different nose to it.
Yep.
Similar flavor.
Yeah.
There's almost a little more bitterness on it, but because it's bottled, it's young. Even though this isn't a keg and I false carbonated it, it kind of forces it to go quicker. This one here is going to probably take another couple weeks, I think, to start to more mature, because it's in smaller batches. It seems to take longer, in my opinion. A larger batch will actually mature faster. And plus, this gets what's called cold crashed, right, where everything settles out.
Okay.
This has been sitting at room temperature to naturally ferment. But I mean, it has a pretty good head on it. This one not as much as that one did.
Yeah.
But it has like a slightly different nose.
Yeah. The nose is different, Sean, but the taste, I don't detect a lot of difference in the taste.
There's a little more bitterness in there. Maybe not.
It's close.
They're close. Well, it's funny because we were saying before we started filming that these beers are the same ingredients, but I'm fermenting them in 2 different carboys. And what I find is yeast, it's a living thing, so it can go one way or the other sometimes. Maybe one of the carboys fermented a little quicker, because when I pour the 2 liquids of yeast in, maybe one got an extra billion yeast cells than the other one did. I don't know.
Oh, yeah?
And it fermented at a little higher temperature. That causes a difference in esters and flavor as well. But I've really always been interested in, like, look at the difference. I can see these 2 in color. I know yours are quite...
Yeah, that seems for some reason to be
a little darker. And I think...
That's weird.
I know. I think part of that, well, maybe it could be just the way the lighting's hitting it.
Could be.
But part of it, too, is when you're bottling, it's coming out of the carboy in different layers. Even though we've mixed it and added our priming sugar to carbonate it, it is slightly different as it goes into one bottle, the next bottle, where this is all coming out of one big keg.
Yeah.
So it's all kind of the same mixed together, right? And also kegs are easy because you just pour it all at once.
Is there a difference between what you get at the top of a keg versus the bottom of a keg? And you know, when you get to the real bottom of a keg, it can be pretty nasty.
That'd be like Newfie Screech.
Yeah.
What I have found is, and the difference too here is I dry hopped in the keg after I cold crashed in my fridge, right? With I have like a big mesh thing that I put the 3 ounces of Cascade in there, and I let it sit in there for about 3 days while it was carbonating, and then I tried it, and I had this really nice strong melon flavor, but not much any pine at all. Yours I let ferment out longer while mine was already in the keg for another few days.
Right.
Because you couldn't come over to bottle,
Right.
and if you dry hop too long, it can kind of give some nasty flavors.
Yeah.
I dry hopped it for I think 4 days, and then that's when you came and bottled it.
Yeah.
So, but it's when you dry hop at a room temperature, it actually I forget what the name is, but it can start fermentation to start over again.
Oh, yeah?
Some of the things that are in the hops can actually start the yeast to start working on that again. Where mine wouldn't, because it was below 40 degrees. The yeast has gone to bed, right? So it's not going to do anything. So that can give you a different profile of flavors as well. But yeah, it's a neat experiment. This is the first time I've done this on my channel where I took the same beer and I treated it differently.
Right.
I think they're very similar.
Yeah.
I like them both.
Yeah, they are both very good.
But yeah, you've got 35 to 36 bottles in there. You can take those home and enjoy.
Yeah.
Yeah. But I mean, I'm not sure what the next one I'm going to do. I talked about doing my last review, or my last video. I talked about yeast. And if you guys watched that yeast video, I did go on a little bit for about 8 or 9 minutes about it, because yeast to me is amazing. Without yeast, all you have is a sugary, hoppy mix of nothing. There's no alcohol. It's not beer.
Right.
I've said this before, that I am the cook, the yeast is the chef. So I can take all the ingredients and mix them and try and make it something really nice and amazing, but until I put the yeast in, it's not beer.
Right.
The yeast is the master chef.
Right.
Yeah. Without the yeast, we got nothing. So, I think on my last video I said that, that I want to, as the temperature rises outside, I'm going to drop my mash temperature down. And I don't think I've explained myself in my last video. What I mean by that is, as the summer comes, I feel that I like the lighter beers, the less bodied beers, the refreshing beers. And when you mash, the lower the temperature you mash, the more sugars get simplified, so that it's not a malty flavor, it's more of a crisp flavor. When we get into the fall and the winter, I'm going to be doing more of my stouts and things like that, where you have a higher mash temperature, you get that nice round body and all these aromas of malted, caramelized flavors that go with food more, right? Where these, you want to have lighter beers, you just drinking them on the lawn more.
Right.
You're not drinking and driving, you're drinking and mowing.
Yes,
Yeah,
right.
yeah. I've done that a few times. So I've spilt a couple beers doing that too. But so yeah, I don't know if you can find anything else in this, Sean, that's any different.
No, I'm just wondering whether or not my initial impression that the nose on it were different. I don't know, maybe not.
This one here, because I dry hopped it right at room temperature, and it's always been a room temperature, I just chilled these. There's this slight, it's like a vinegar kind of a nose on it that goes away, and it happens because the hops start to make re-fermentation happen. And the first time it happened to me, I thought it was because I used to drop my pH on these beers, I use lactic acid,
Right.
which if you smell it, it smells like barf. It smells like baby barf or whatever. And when I smelt my beer, I thought I can smell it. I was really pissed off about it. I went to the beer place and told them, he said, there's no way. They said, you're only putting like an ounce in there at the most. You're not going to smell that in 5 gallons. I'm just like, well, I can smell it. And someone was like, oh, you got an infection in your beer. And I was like, oh, what did I do? What did I miss? I sanitized everything, right? Within 2 or 3 weeks of that beer sitting in bottles, it went away. So the yeast is still conditioning these bottles. So when you bring these home, you can leave them here if you want to bring them home, they have to stay still at like a room temperature, like 65 to 75 degrees, because the yeast is still breaking down and carbonating. It's still carbonating, and it's still breaking down little tiny things in there, because at the end of the yeast cycle, before it goes back into its like sleepy time, when it goes into basically starvation mode, when there's nothing left, it starts to clean up little byproducts that it made when it was fermenting quickly, and actually cleans them up and makes them into alcohol too. So it cleans everything up, and that's why if you want a nice clean beer, like you make a lager, it takes a couple months, because it's taking that long. It
Longer
cleans them all
process.
up. Yeah, when you make an ale, and you make an ale in 3 days, right? It'll all ferment, and then you go and bottle it, or you could carbonate it. And you can drink a beer in 5-6 days, but you're gonna have all these fruity esters, which a lot of English beers like to have, right?
Yeah.
If you're looking for more clean crisp,
Yeah.
it's got to take a little longer. I've got one over in the corner there that's running right now that I started doing, which I'm trying to remember what it is I'm doing now on it. I found the recipe online. I can't remember now, but it says to ferment at 60 degrees with USO5, which is a ale yeast, which I did with my other beer that I think you and Steve had, which is that Kolsch style.
Oh, yeah.
Where it's like, it tastes almost like a lager. It's
Yeah.
really clean, and I'm doing that again with a different beer. We'll see how that comes out. I've also got another beer, Haze is for Horses, which is over there, and that's gonna be ready to, I may keg it or I may bottle it and have a video on that in another week or two and review that as well.
Where'd you get the recipe for that?
That one was on one of my friends' brewing channels. Well, there's a few of them
Yeah.
on 21090 Brewing. So that's 2 and then TEN
Oh, yeah?
90 Brewing, and that is their zip code.
Oh, yeah?
Yeah, so that's their zip code. It was really cool. I'm like, why is that their name? And I found out that's their zip code. And I gave them a shout out when I did my Haze is for Horses beer. And so I just want to let them know that I'm glad they have their channel. We
Yeah.
need all of our brewing friends together to learn and have fun and trade beers. I had one of the guys, which is brew-dudes.com. I was going to send them some beers to review, and they're down in the States. Then I started looking at the legalities of it, and I'm like,
Oh, getting across the border?
getting across the border, you can try.
Yeah.
If you ship it by UPS or by Purelator, sometimes it gets flagged and they destroy it. If you ship it by United States parcel, there's a higher chance of it getting across the border, but it's a federal offense
Yeah.
to ship alcohol
yeah.
across the line unless you have a license. So I emailed them back and said, guys, I'd love to do this, but I traveled to the States for business and for pleasure. I have family there. Really don't want to have that on my freaking record because, hell, here we are in Potland, Canada.
Right, yeah.
I don't smoke pot, but now it's like we're at Target. You go across the States, they can say, hey, do you smoke pot? You ever smoke pot? Well, when I was in high school. Turn around.
Yeah.
Don't want to have that at all, right? Yeah. I love to visit the States. They're our neighbors. I do not want to have problems at the border. So, unfortunately, the only way you can get alcohol across the border is to drink it, go across the border, piss it out over there. So, then that's not going to do me much good.
Right.
So,
Yeah.
So, I mean, Sean, I think these turned out pretty good. And,
Yeah, they're very good, Sean.
and like I said, the difference with what you've got on yours is it's still conditioning. And I think it's going to get better and better over the next 2 weeks because it's bottle conditioned. Usually they would tell you to wait a month, and then this has been, I think, bottled for 2 weeks.
Okay.
Right, so they tell you wait a month. It's already carbonated,
Yeah.
but it's going to get better and better. With this one, because I cold crashed it and false carbonated, it actually conditions faster, which is why a lot of people keg.
Yeah.
Right. The difference, though, is if you're doing a really nice style of beer with all sorts of different fruits, esters, darker flavors, you're better off to bottle it. If you keg it, you're not going to get that same flavor. It's like a wine when they bottle a wine. Some of the really fancy, nice wines, they get better with age, right? And by the way, I have another wine over there too that I'm getting ready to bottle maybe next week. I didn't do a video on it, guys, because I did do a video and I ranted about how wine kits are horrible. I do have to recant. I found a place that sells just pure juice, and they get it from somewhere. I don't think it was Chile. I forget where it was. But it's a pure juice. I did a Chardonnay, I did a half kit, and it's not even really a kit. I got the juice, and I put in the yeast, and I tested, after about a month it's been sitting, it went right down to almost 1.003, which is almost no sugar. It's dry, and I'm gonna bottle it and condition it for another month and then try it, and I think it's gonna be really good. Whenever I made those kits, it was from Chilean wine grapes, and I think they were fake. I think they just put food coloring and sugar.
Oh, yeah?
Well, because the juice would come concentrated and add water to it, which now you're putting shitty Georgetown water in it.
Right.
It was always clear. And when it fermented, it would be a little cloudy, but it would clear right out. This stuff is not. I put in some potassium metabosulfite, which is what kills the yeast, and it's now starting to clear out, but it's a different color. It looks real. I think the other stuff has friggin' food coloring in it.
Oh, yeah?
And it always tasted and smelled like cotton candy. It was it was horrible. So I'm excited for that.
Yeah.
And we'll do a tasting on that too when that comes out as well. And if that works out well, I'm going to get a whole big kit and I'll start back into my wine again. Yeah, be a wino and a beer.
Is it more complex?
No.
No?
No.
Less complex?
Yeah. Wine people are snobs, man. Like, If you go to the wineries and they talk about the apple and the essence of this and that, it's all bullshit, right? They sit there and smell and go, I think I get this, smell in it, and they just add to the story.
Right.
And people go, oh yeah, that's right. Beer is more complex by far than wine because it's a recipe. Wine is the grape, and there's like a variety of grapes. There's only a small amount of yeast that will work with wine. And then it's whatever happens after that. You condition it in stainless steel, you condition it in a cask if it's French oak or American oak, is what the flavors will be. There's not much they can do to steer that. And I used to wonder this when I used to go and have wines in the winery, and I'd find this beautiful, 2005 wine that I liked from this vineyard. And then the next year, it was like not even near as good.
Right.
They don't have control over that. That's how the season was, and
Right.
how the hot the grapes got.
Yeah.
Beer, I mean, yeah, sometimes your hops might be slightly different variances, maybe a little bit on the malt, but it's very similar, and you can correct that with how you brew, and you can get really close, right? So there's way more complexity going because you've got 4 main things: you've got water, hops, your barley, and your yeast, and that's the basic 4. You can have adjuncts after that, rice, and all sorts of stuff too, and it's your temperatures and how long you ferment, and what you're fermenting. It goes on forever.
Yeah.
I digress.
Interesting though.
So I guess
Yeah, very
video
good.
today, Sean.
Excellent, Sean.
Thank you for
Great
coming
beer.
out. Yeah. And next video will be probably when I do my haze for horses. I do that bottling and that. Because summer's coming. I looked outside, the grass is starting to grow.
It is starting to turn green too. Which
Yes,
is
it
nice.
is. Yeah. Oh, can't wait till the gardens get going too. Another thing I'm going to do is I'm going to try and do a wild yeast fermentation beer. When I get some wild raspberries in the back, I'm going to pitch those into a beer
Oh, yeah?
and see if I can get a wild yeast going. See how that comes out. Totally different. So this is Sean and Sean. Sign off for Canadian Brew Channel. Please click subscribe. Click on the bell if you want to know when my next video comes out. And thanks guys for watching. Have a great day.
Cheers.
Cheers.